Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, it's Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I'm here today with Bill Foss, and he's going to teach us how to read the Akashic records, you guys. This is really cool. I've had a reading with Bill, and he is amazing, and it changes your life, and it kind of helps you have more perspective. So that's what we're going to talk about today, you guys. And it's a lot of people call it the Book of Life. So make sure you share this with all your friends and let them know, because this is a really cool show we're going to do today with Bill. Now, sit back and relax, because we're going to talk about the state of humanity. And I pulled a couple things up today. And here's the first thing I pulled up. Britain tightens travel restrictions with hotel quarantine and prison threat. This is crazy. So London, this is coming from Britain, will require passengers arriving from countries where worrying coronavirus variants are spreading, to pay for 10 days of quarantine in hotels, while rule breakers will face heavy fines or jail terms under tighter restrictions from next week. Now, the new travel rules add to restrictions that already ban travel abroad for the holidays. So the government said the strongest measures were needed to prevent new variants of the virus from thwarting Britain's rapid vaccination program. So airlines and travel companies called for more government aid, saying the new rules would deepen a crisis that has seen them losing nearly all of their revenues. Now, this is just, I don't know. What do you think about this, Bill?
Good morning, Nancy.
Hi, Bill.
Wow.
I'm going to bring you on here formally in a minute, but what do you think about that? What do you think about this COVID thing and these new variant and all this stuff?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, when we talked by chat a couple days ago, and we were talking about going in this direction, and the first thing that came to me, and the very important thing, and I always want to go back to this, when all of this COVID stuff started happening, you got to remember that this is being put out by the media.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's formulated. It's all being formulated, even if they're making it up as they go along. The one thing that is the one thing that's consistent, and I'll tie this in as we continue to talk, but the one thing that's consistent that hasn't changed is, number one, God.
True.
And the center of the universe, the great central sun.
Right.
Your soul has
Mm-hmm.
not changed. The fact that we are all divine beings having an experience has not changed.
Right.
The fact that we have unlimited power.
I know, we
to
do.
access prayer and
Yeah.
spirituality and the
Yeah.
energy of healing. This is, that has not changed. In fact, well, if it has changed, it's gotten more. It's increased.
It's increased. And we're going to talk about that on the show today. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's happening with humanity. But I get the feeling, I get the vibe, Bill, that you don't believe any of this stuff, because I kind of don't either.
Well, let's just say it's definitely part of a backdrop. It's
like a plan.
Life is a big stage.
Yeah.
Bringing in different backdrops.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Okay, cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad to get your perspective on this one. All right. Well, let me tell you some good news. We have some good news here on High Road to Humanity. And here's what I pulled for good news today. And we're going to get into this, Bill and I, today. So this is going to be a fun conversation, you guys. But check this out. I wanted to share this with the audience. So there's a coal miner who plucked a woman out of her car moments before it went up in flames. Check this out. Mercedes Boggs knows she's lucky to be alive. Boggs was on her way to work last month when her car hit a patch of ice, flipped on its side, and slid down an embankment, coming to a rest in a frigid creek. Now, after regaining consciousness with water rushing in from the smashed windshield, Boggs realized she was trapped. That's when a stranger appeared, making his way towards her, and Boggs somehow knew everything was going to be okay. When I saw him, it was just like everything was fine, she told WVLT News 8. I wasn't even scared anymore. I just knew that he was saving. He was my saving grace. Neither one of them realized how very true that first impression would turn out to be. The Good Samaritan freed Boggs from her mangled vehicle, and as he was helping her up the embankment, her car burst into flames. Oh my gosh. Had he come along half a minute later, Boggs would likely have perished in the ensuing inferno. And he's a Kentucky coal miner. His name is John Burke, and he was on his way home from work from the night shift when he saw someone in serious trouble and stopped to help. And I just want to say there are some really awesome people still out there. So that's our good news for humanity. And one more thing I want to mention before I officially bring Bill on is that Mary Wilson, founder of the Supremes, died at the age of 76. And I just wanted to pay tribute to her. You know, the Supremes she died Monday night. And she passed away suddenly, it says, and that's really sad news. And she actually started in Detroit, and I'm from that area, so that's pretty cool. All right, now Bill Foss is here today, and let me tell you a little bit about Bill. He's been on the show before, you guys, so but we're gonna talk to him today, and we're gonna get some insight on what's happening. He's the author of Journey to the Akashic Records. He's also an accomplished international teacher and speaker. Now, he studied the Akashic Records extensively for the last 22 years, and it's brought Bill to a place of advanced information of the inner workings of the Akashic Records and how to access them and how to integrate this ancient mystical system in our world and lives with some of the most powerful, intuitive techniques to be found. Now, there's ancient civilizations, future realities, past lives, history of the world, inventions, healing, and the ascended masters in the angelic realm. They're all linked to the Akashic Records. Now, Bill has taught across the continental US and Europe, the UK, and Mexico for the past 12 years, helping groups and individuals to open to greater understanding of who we are and why we're here and where we're headed. Find out how you can access your records, and Bill can help you do that. Hey, Bill Foss, welcome to High Road to Humanity.
Hey, Nancy.
Thanks for coming today. And you know, we started to talk about this, you know, what's happening in humanity. And I like what you said. You said that, you know, we're still these souls in these bodies with all this stuff going on around us. You want to complete that thought before we get into
Yes. So there are two different, well, there are many different dynamics that are happening simultaneously, continuously throughout history, and have been over the course of ages, eons and eons. And number one, so the dynamics to look at during this whole time are your soul energy, being in your soul energy, and the Akashic Records. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, everybody wants to know, you know, when they get into studying the Akashic Records, they want to know what their past lives are. It's
Right.
inspirational. You know, when you find out that there's a great library that you can go in and you can find anything about any, you know, any certain situation or dynamic, and that you're part of that, and that you have been through history
Mhm.
and you've been time looping by reincarnating, then that's exciting. So that gives you an in to start wanting to get into it. When you start to get into accessing the records, you get pulled more into your soul energy, which is where your intuition functions, which is functioning on a psychic level. It's functioning on a psychic like level. It's not actually what you would call per se pure psychic energy. It's more
Okay.
intuitive. So the
Okay.
soul energy is reading and writing and observing. So it's creating and observing through the human experience, and it's also connected into the records
Mhm.
where so that this is is your true self. This is your true self and your true essence. In here, we're we have the ego going on. We
Mhm.
have the ego, and we have the heart and the mind and the nervous system and all of these parts of us and our senses. And so we're having this sensory experience with this reality,
Mhm.
and we're getting pulled in this direction, getting pulled in that direction. We've got a phone,
Oh, I
in front of
know.
us,
And
so we're
that's
being
like,
pulled in.
yeah. Yeah.
So the, the, the phone energy, and we can talk about this. I want to finish this thought I'm on, but that pulls the dynamic of the soul energy. So most people have trouble getting into their soul energy from their ego. That's number one.
Mhm.
Getting to the soul is the intermediary
Why, Bill? Because
between.
is it scary for people?
Say again.
Is it scary for people to get to their soul energy? Is that why they use the ego as a like a mask?
I don't, well, that's an interesting way of saying it, Nancy. I think so.
Okay.
That yeah, I mean, we could give a qualifying yes to that. And the reason being is because they want to stay in here.
Mhm.
They have a mask, they have a case, they have a,
They're comfortable. They're safe.
right. It's
Yeah.
content. There's a certain complacency or a contentment in here. And they go, oh, well, soul energy. Yeah, I know about the soul. But does anybody actually get there? The soul is referencing the experience continually, but how much are you connecting into it as it's coming into you?
Wow. Bill, this is really interesting stuff. Hey, we got to go to commercial break already, believe it or not. But when we come back, we're going to talk about how to access your records. You guys, and Bill is wonderful. He did, I want to say that he did a reading for me. He accessed my Akashic records. And I want to tell the audience how wonderful that was and what a great experience. And you can have that done too. So anyway, his book is called How to Read the Akashic Records. You can pick it up on Amazon or go to his website. It's billfoss.net, billfoss.net. And this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back.
You're so good at what you do.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Hi, it's Nancy here. I'm here today with Bill Foss. We're going to talk about the Akashic Records. Hey, Bill, you know what was cool? I love reading your books, man, because it puts me back in that, feel. But tell the audience, like, how did you, I like to kind of preface a little bit, how did you access this for the first time? And tell us your experience, because that's always fun to hear.
Okay. Well, I was studying. I'd moved out to the Southwest. I was in Albuquerque,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's where I'm at.
at school. And I lived there for 4 years, and I was drawn out into the Phoenix area,
Yeah.
where I started using my graphics and illustration design skills, my artistic skills, to go into, the workplace, when that was more, before everything went completely computerized. There was more of a graphic pre-press. We were doing billboard, graphic design, logo design. You could actually still do hand illustration at that time.
Wow.
And
Can I ask you, can I stop a second? So for the people watching me on YouTube, are those portraits? Did you draw those that are behind you?
those are paintings
They're
that I
beautiful.
thank you. Those are prints of paintings that I did on metal.
So
Uh,
you did those. Those are yours. So as
yeah,
you're talking about your artistic skills, I want the audience to realize that those are your pictures and that's Mother Mary. And is that Jesus? Is that your portrait of Jesus?
that was on copper, and it was copper colored, and it flashed with healing energy. When I photographed it, it went like golden. So I
You left it.
let that I let that go ahead, and
Yeah. You guys, if you're listening to the podcast and you're not watching on YouTube, you'll have to check it out because he has these beautiful paintings behind him of Mary and Jesus. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to say something about that, Bill.
yeah, thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
So I moved out to the Phoenix area, and I was getting more drawn into uh, the Southwestern energy. I'd had a soul retrieval, a shamanic. I had my first spiritual coming from the rock and roll and the fine art world. And moving into the spirituality, I started to ask the question, why are we all here? I know there's more. I just know it. Come to find out, after I got into it, and I'll backtrack a little bit, I found out that I had I'd had many, many lives as a spiritual teacher and a spiritual student. And I'd spent certain lifetimes with certain masters through history. Uh, and it was mind blowing to kind of like see this going into the records. So I had this feeling that there was more going on and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something says, this everyday, this mundane, going to the store and coming home and even playing in the band or working a job, this isn't it. I know there's more. So I found something called Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. It was a book set that was written by Bear T. Spalding around the turn of the century, between the 1800s and the 1900s. And he talked about these masters on the other side of the world that had superpowers. They were bilocating, they were manifesting food, they were healing, they were doing all of these things. And I became so excited. I said, I knew it. I knew there was more. I couldn't put my finger on it. I know these people. I've been with these people.
Yeah, this is my family.
And so I started studying. Right after that, I prayed a very powerful prayer. And I said, God, please, I need your help. Show me the way that this all works. And at that time, we're talking about the early 90s. So the internet was just barely getting going.
Okay.
And I had bookstores. This is when bookstores were more prolific, and the metaphysical section was like this. And I'd go and stand in front of it and say, what should I read? And God would always guide me to the right book. So I started reading and reading. When I found the Akashic records, and I had to, there was Edgar Casey's information, and there were channeled stuff that there was a lot of channeled stuff that referred to the record. So it was hard to get find actual information about it. But finally, I found a book that's out of print now.
Okay.
And actually several books that were old, and they were talking about how to go into the records. And when I went in, I started having these profound experiences that I had. So I was doing self-guided journeys into the records, and I had no reference for it.
Right.
I had literally no reference for it other than just to experience it and keep it coming in. And then I found a teacher who worked with me privately and started to open me up and guide me. And the thing that as you're asking me, how did I get into it? The thing that was strange about it was that I already knew all of it. As I was learning it, as I was reading it, it was like the words were literally appearing on the page.
Right. It was coming back to you.
Say again?
Was it like coming back to you?
Yeah, it was all coming back to me.
Yeah.
And I was so passionate about it. I wanted to go out on, and just walk up to people on the street and say, hey, do you know about the Akashic records?
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Because like today, at that time, even there were a lot of changes going on,
Yeah. Well, and there was I'm curious about, you said you found some old books. I wonder where the time, stopped, where people were doing it and then they didn't do it anymore. And now people are because you're not the only one accessing the records. Now, a lot of people are, but it's weird. It's like there was nothing there. Why the space of time? Yeah.
That's a great question. And actually, Nancy, that's a very important for all your listeners and viewers.
Yeah.
The Akashic records, the reason why it's cyclical like that is because it is a higher study.
Okay.
And you have to go into deep meditation and you have to practice and to be able to get there. Now, some people will say, "Oh, I had this great experience and I just poof and I went right in there." And that happens with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
The experience and they have been there, whether it's a near-death experience or a healing experience or a dream experience or just something of that nature.
Right.
Uh, but it it literally is a higher mind study. So it's one of those. It's it's more true to the higher reality of what's actually occurring behind the scenes. And for that reason, it's kind of been left alone. So not only is it hard for people to keep their attention on something long enough to be able to continue to practice and stay in there and do the work. But the ego is always pulling on somebody and saying, well, what about Buddhism? Maybe we got to go here and study that. Let's go to the Buddhist temple. And then we'll go to the metaphysical bookstore and then we'll get some chai tea. And, chai tea. And then on. And it's like, wait a second, stop. Let's go back to the records
Mm-hmm.
and stay with that and get your soul essence and your soul purpose and look at your lifetimes, because that's literally why we're here. We're from the records.
Right.
We've all been to the records,
Right.
and we're having a conscious experience here. And when there's something special about when we remember when we're here in human form and we remember to go back there
And look.
and look,
Yeah.
when we wake up, if we have that, we do the popcorn thing and we wake up, then it's gonna shift us in a way that the rest of the life, the rest of the walk becomes it just
You look at things differently, I think, is what I think. Once you know about what you were before or why you're here, don't you think you kind of look at the bigger picture? At least I do. I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to say, I wanted to ask a couple questions of you. You know, when I was reading your book yesterday, I was looking at some stuff and you said, this was interesting. You talk about the book of life and you say there's 12 souls and there's 12 soul groups. And then you talk about monad is a soul expression form of creator, God source, light energy. And in turn, this light monad is connected directly back to that light or creator, God source. Can you talk about that? I didn't understand exactly what you were saying. We were going into the records and then talk about the 12 souls and the 12 soul groups and that.
so let's say, for instance, in history, uh, there was a direct physical expression of that soul group would have been the 12 disciples
Okay.
and Christ.
Okay.
Christ was kind of like holding the space for the whole soul group. So
Okay.
there were more than 12 actually. But a lot of things in writing the Bible were referring to these higher dynamics. So it's all there. It's all there,
Okay.
sort of a
Okay.
poetic way in some places.
Okay.
You can take it literally or you can take it figuratively, but that is a dynamic of, and there were many more disciples. There were literally thousands of them.
Wow.
But the soul, your soul is part of 12. And that's where the 144 comes
Gotcha.
from. That
Gotcha.
divine,
Oh, that's what, okay.
because there are 12 groups of 12 soul groups equaling 144, and then there's an oversoul.
Okay.
And then there are 12 of those. And so on the other side, if you look at the holographic soul matrix, you can look at it as a soul matrix. We're all connected.
Right. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the tapestry of souls when we
Gee,
come when we
sure.
come back, Bill. from commercial break. Hey, it's Nancy. We got to go to commercial break. I'm sorry, Bill. This is so interesting. See, we could talk for hours about this. I'm here with Bill Foss. His website is billfoss.net. If you want to contact him, is that the best way if they want to, if they want you to access the records for them, Bill?
Definitely. Most definitely, everything's there.
Okay, cool. All right, you guys, this is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hey, it's Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with Bill Foss. Bill, talk about the Tapestry of Souls. When you're in the book, you say, and then you also say there's a peace. I like two things I want to talk about. One thing you say there's a kind of peace, a peaceful, timeless moment when you go into the space of accessing your records. But then you also talk about the tapestry in the Great Hall and how it's all lit and it's all of us. And it's like a map. And it reminds me of when I visualize this or see this, it's big. The hall was bigger than I thought, by the way. And it reminds me of, like the airplane, like the air traffic controller thing, because it's massive and it's like what we're all doing. Talk about that a little bit. Tell the audience.
It shows up in different ways for different people.
Yeah.
Those of us who go in and access.
Yeah.
And the Tapestry of Souls is I talk about in this book, which you were showing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
How all of these things that are in the records and in the higher dimensions step down into humanity.
Okay.
And very simply, throughout ancient cultures all around the world, people have woven tapestries.
I know. I didn't think of it like this.
And they would weave a blanket with a pictorial on it or symbols on it as a prayer or as a spell, or as a manifestation to create something or to bless something. So this is an earthly manifestation of what was actually going on in the records. They were picking up on it and didn't know it as it's stepping down. Right. Now in the records, when you go up to the Great Hall, and the Tapestry of Soul is one of many different archetypes that we access directly, and there's a chapter about each one in the book. Right. That talks about what you'll see when you go in there. So when you go in there, just like your living room has furniture in it, it has pictures, lamps, furniture, rugs, things like this, things that you use, or dynamics that are utilized when you're there. The Tapestry of Souls is one of those. So there's the Book of Life, which is yours, and then there's a larger Book of Life where all of the Directory of Souls is kept. And then there are different rooms, on and on. There are so many interesting dynamics. The Tapestry of Souls is literally this huge tapestry that has, remember there in the 70s, there was an old toy set called, it was a game, it was called Light Bright.
Yes.
And it had little like colored things that you.
Yeah. My kids actually had it. Yeah.
That's like the Tapestry of Souls. It's like this directory.
And it's energy, right? That's the other thing I wanted to mention.
So they're all in there. All of the soul matrix and the tree of life of all of the matrix of all of the souls. So you can be in the higher, you can be in the records.
Right.
You can get into a higher level where you can be standing there looking at it and understand it. You may not be able to come back and consciously write it down, but you'll have an experience that is transformative for you. It will change the way your brain is wired into a higher learning way of receiving information. And so many people have said that it's tall. And for some people it's huge, stories tall. Some people have said that they see it like 15, 20 feet tall. Some people see it long, like it goes on for several miles.
But Bill, it's energy, right? It's all energy. It's our energy, right?
It's energy. It's the energy of the collective.
I love it.
The energy of the collective.
I love that. And then you talk about the floor. You say, look at the floor, it's mosaic. And, that was interesting to me. You say the mosaic tiles on the floor are moving with energy too. That was really cool because everything's energy. When you said that they're all moving with energy, can you address that? Because I just thought that was
Yeah,
perfect,
that's that is representational of the dynamic that our world is moving. Our world is alive with energy.
Okay.
Even the most mundane thing is vibrating with energy. Everything that we have, and some things are moving faster than others.
Right.
When we go into the records and we're walking across that floor and it's moving with energy, that's representational of what the ancient teachers and the shamans would say about when you're on the earth plane, we are creating each step
Oh,
world under our feet as we put each foot forward.
nice.
And if we literally, and that's actually a spiritual study that you can do. When you think about that, that's like a Buddhist saying, to be on the path, you must first become the path, would be a Buddhist saying.
Nice.
But if you think about picking a foot up and moving it forward and creating the world, creating the earth under each foot as you step forward, then that's a game changer. And that's exactly representational of what's happening in the records when you're in there with the mosaic floor. This is also representational of the fact that the records are being written. They're moving. It's all
Because they're
moving.
being written as we write them.
Right. They're being written collectively, and they're keepers and watchers. They're
Well, as
keeping.
you say this, I think as you make the step, you have to be conscious, correct? So it makes so when you think about taking that step, then you're in the now, you're conscious, you're aware of what's going on. I'm going to ask you a question. I think everybody wants to know. What do the records say about what's happening now with humanity?
This is a time when when we're literally being called to wake up.
Hmm.
And had we been able to wake up collectively quicker, it has a it has a responsive um, way of interacting with the dynamics of what's occurring on a planetary level. So if the more people that wake up and
Okay.
say, "Oh, wow, I'm getting it. I get it now. I get it." So
Yeah.
it happens to, we can even, let's go down to just a mundane, anyone on the planet through history that's been through a certain life-changing situation that changes their life. Maybe somebody has been on a trajectory through, and then they either have a near-death experience and they come back and they're like, none of this really matters. I mean, this is all love. This is
Hmm.
love. You're love. I'm love. We're all love. And we just need to get it. But most of the people are still disconnected, even though they're waking up in some. God is waking people up as much as possible, bringing the lights on in more mundane ways than having an actual quote unquote in the moment spiritual experience.
Right. I believe. Yeah. And Bill, I think that you and I are here, and that's why I'm doing this. And that's why you're doing this too. I know I'm here to help people wake up because I woke up and I get it, and I want other people to get it. What did you say?
And you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, yeah, because here's the thing. Once you wake up, it's kind of like when you figured out the Akashic records. It's like once I connected to the divine and once I realized, I was like, oh, I have to tell everybody because doesn't everybody know that we need to do this? And you get that and you're excited. And that's where I'm at. I'm like, hey, you guys, check it out. You can connect and you can be at peace and it's okay. And God takes care of you and you don't have to worry about money and you don't have to worry about stuff, because when you're in connection with God, he just takes care of it, just like he does for the animals and the birds and everything else. And you're in the flow. What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right on. So going into the soul energy and going into the records, it's going to help you start to manifest. You're
Right.
you're going to be provided for, and the thing is, a lot of people we're all provided for by our guides.
Yes.
We just have to like connect on that level, and people will start with the smaller things in life, and they'll be looking for synchronicities.
Right.
You know, with the clock, every time I look at the clock, it says 2:22 or 3:33.
Right.
Angelic numbers. So
Right.
let's connect with the angels. Let's more prayer work, starting to ask and receive, ask and receive. And every time that we pray, when we start out, a lot of people pray and they say, "Oh God, please save me. Please help me in this situation." And then it happens and they're just on to their next moment. When we really, really get in touch with this, that things are occurring in divine order and we're part of that,
Right.
everything changes and we can start manifesting. And when we start to expand, the ego starts to question in here. It starts to saying, it starts saying, is this really happening? Am I really being guided? Am I really being provided for? And the answer is yes, absolutely. All
Right.
you need to do is like quiet the ego down enough to stay in more of the soul energy around the body, because your soul is streaming down through your body continually.
Yeah, and I got to say something too, because this has happened, and I want to know if you felt like this too. And then we got to go to commercial break. But, the more connected and the more I know things, like I watched a Super Bowl and I knew who was going to win and I knew pretty much what the score was going to be. And that was cool. But I test myself all the time. I'm like, oh, I want to see if I know. And I did. And I was like, this is cool. Although you guys, I don't play the lottery because I don't play that game. But I guess my question to you is, Bill, do you find that it's hard because sometimes I have to go, oh, don't get the ego involved in here, Nancy. That wasn't you. That was the divine telling you what the answer was. And so when you start to know this stuff, I mean, was there ever a point where you're like, oh, I know all this, but then you got to bring yourself back and say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I know this stuff so I can help other people. It's a fine line, right?
It is. It is. It's like when you start getting in touch on these different levels
Yeah.
of looking.
Yeah.
You're looking at situations. You're looking at outcomes. You're doing readings. You're going to get a lot of information, and I would talk about it in the classes sometimes. You're going to get a lot of information that you can't really do anything with, and I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that like
But it's confirmation that what you're doing is working.
information's on a lot.
Yeah. All right, you guys, I got to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Bill and about the Akashic Records, how to read the Akashic Records. If you want to set up a session with him, go to billfoss.net. I need to publicize myself a little bit here. If you want a reading from me, go to nancyyearout.com. And this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hey, it's Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with Bill Foss. Hey, Bill, I just asked you that because it's funny because you get to a point where you can see the ego. You know what I'm talking about?
It's like the Wizard of Oz. The great excuse me, the great Oz. The curtain back, and it comes out, and then the ego is like, oh, but it's just this person that's part of the big, flaming saying, I am the great Oz, and it's like really, really genuine and happy. So the ego is kind of like our inner child. The ego is part of the inner child. There is a survival mechanism or a survival mode to it that says, oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? Continually.
Mhm.
Let's go on Amazon and shop, you know,
Yeah.
because I'll feel like I'm getting something done, right?
Oh, that's funny.
You know, instead of actually doing, instead of actually studying spiritually, let's go on and buy a book about studying spiritually, and
But
then
not really do the work. It takes work.
continually, maybe I'll get a mala, maybe I'll get some incense, etc.
I know, I'm hearing you.
Then my spiritual shopping will be complete.
I
Uh,
know.
anyway, uh, it's important for the ego to have experiences and know that it's supported. When we get into, we've got the ego, we've got the mind, which your mind is part of this. Your mind is the great go-between. So you want to you want to support the ego and bring it up into the higher mind. Give it different things to work on. Give it different chores, different tasks of studying higher level
Mhm.
information
Mhm.
and exercises, and then it gets out of that mundane fight or flight mode, the lost child mode, uh, things like that. It stops focusing on the old or the what ifs, and it goes to work and says, I am.
Right.
It becomes part of the higher mind. And the mind field, which is connected to the soul field, which is connected up into the Akashic records, that says, I am. I am. So the ego is like saying, what if? What if
Right.
I were? Or what if I could be? And I don't know if I really can. But then you go up into the mind, and the mind is the go-between, and it's considering all things through the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious parts of the mind. The subconscious, the ego has the ear of the subconscious mind. So
Mhm.
and plant what if, and keep keep our world, our reality swimming a little bit for an extended period of time through subconscious manifestations in the external. But when we become, through the mind, when we become aware of these dynamics, that's all it takes. There's a there's a transparency that happens with the mind. Okay, so everybody says get out of the mind and stay in the heart. Yes, that's true.
Mhm.
You have to know when to use the mind for powerful healing, and you can use the mind for powerful healing by being present completely in the eternal now and saying, I see it. When you are looking at energy, when you are
Mhm.
looking at energy, then God, your higher self, your higher mind, your superconscious mind, divine intelligence, and your subconscious are looking through it. So this is where the people let's say the people that gaze in India, this
Mhm.
tantra, their gaze, they can like look at things and they can actually project energy and heal with their eyes. So
Okay.
they know. So you can perceive on a level of absolute change and clearing.
Okay.
They will talk about this as a holographic universe, or they can also refer to it as uh, holographic quantum. They can
Yeah,
all.
as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about, it's interesting. I've been looking at things from a different perspective, like from a higher perspective. Like things happen, but then when you go to a higher, I don't want to say higher level, but when you look at it all, then you look at it differently. Like then you realize, oh, well, this happened to progress to this, or this happened to progress to this. You don't look at it like blame or judgment or any of that kind of stuff anymore. And that's pretty much what you're talking about here, right?
Right.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
we all tend to judge and blame and say, oh, what if, like you just said, what if? But that's not it. You got to look at it like it's happening so that we progress and we elevate, right?
Right. Absolutely. You get it, Nancy. You get
Okay. Well, I want the audience to get it too. I'm like, hey, you guys.
it.
Hey, what?
sometimes when we're looking sometimes when we're looking for our own self, for our own awareness, and we're looking psychically, we
Right.
have we have to be aware, where is our ego in that?
Mm-hmm.
Where's our ego in our reference point as we're looking? at the message that we're getting? Are we looking for the message that we want to hear,
Or the real deal.
or the real deal?
Hmm.
Sit with that, you
That's
know?
hard. Well, it's hard because you don't like to see that sometimes.
Right.
I gotcha. Hey,
So,
we've only got like 6 minutes, and I want to talk about crystals real quick with you because I'm a rock person. And in this book, you talk about using the crystals to access the records. And I just wondered if you would address it for a few minutes because I didn't get that far. I wanted you to talk about it.
absolutely. When it's something that I've been doing when I started doing readings, and God put me out at expos when I started doing the work
Mhm.
to work with people, and I was guided. And at some, I would reach across the table, and I would hold hands with whoever I was reading for, and that's the way I would get my download.
Okay.
And then Spirit would say, this person doesn't need a reading, they need a clearing, or they need a healing. And so I got a big piece of selenite
Right.
that I would lay on the table, and because selenite is very clearing. You
And
have
this
some
is selenite, you guys.
very clearing, self-clearing.
Yeah. Mhm.
So then years as I started collecting crystals, I got into using, now these are 2 Lemurian crystals, and these are about the size that I use. They're about palm size. And these are red Lemurians.
You
Now,
talk about this in the book.
yes, red Lemurians or strawberry Lemurians or orange Lemurians are good for reading the records. They
Okay.
higher vibration. Clear quartz sometimes, now you can program clear quartz for that, but clear quartz will sometimes pick up everything and amplify everything.
How do you
But
know if they're Lemurian or not? If you order them or if you try to get them?
well, it says so right inside
Oh,
here.
yeah, right. See, that's always my deal. Like, how do you know? How do you know? I know this is selenite, but how do you know that's Lemurian?
Yeah, well, they have a certain, they have
Are they smoky or
they're
they're purpley?
they're red, but they're red. They're
Ah,
smoky, but they're red. They have lines through them, and what
okay.
Robert Simmons says in the Crystal Bible is that these lines that move through
Uh-huh.
are how the crystal grew, but it also has, so these are part of the earth, and these are vibrating with energy.
Mhm.
Earth, Mother Earth, is connected to her etheric field, and her etheric field in the higher dimensions is where her records are,
Nice.
and those are God's records. So it's the air, it's the air, the ethers, and the earth. And you can also get to the records through going deep in the earth, which I talk about through some of the journey work in the second book.
Mhm.
You can also access through crystals.
Mhm.
Now, I use these, the way that I do it is I use 2 when I read, and I've used these 2 specifically in thousands of readings with people. And I just go up, I just connect, and I just go up into the records. I don't have to go into the crystal or down into the earth. I just go up into the records. So each crystal is going to do something a little different. Here is a piece of, this is a piece of Auralite 23.
Okay.
Is very bright purple if you put it under a light or hold
Pretty.
it up to a light.
Yeah.
It's amethyst with 23 other minerals, including gold.
Wow. That's
So
cool, Bill. That is
uh,
cool. I love it. You know, I'm such a rock person. I love it. I love it. I love it. I
I,
just got this. Now, what does this do? I just got this kyanite. I just picked this up. And this is, and I hadn't heard about kyanite, but I got it because I'm an air sign. I'm an Aquarius, and it grounds you.
excellent. Yes.
Keeps you grounded. This keeps you
Is that
grounded.
is that black kyanite?
It
Or
is black kyanite. It's black.
black kyanite is good for clearing.
Yeah.
It's very good for clearing.
And
Black.
when you're an empath like I am, I'm always walking around with salt in my pockets. This kind of helps. It's true, man. I gotta say. Hey, Bill, what are you up to? We got 2 minutes left to the show. Tell the audience what you're up to, what's going on, what you got happening. Sell yourself here, Bill.
I'm getting ready to start. So this is the intermediate. This is the intermediate book, book 2, which we've been working from today.
Right.
Volume 1, New Beginnings, is where you want to start. And this has a lot of channeled information. This was written at Mount Shasta, where the vibration is very high. We've got a 3-class workshop series that's going to start online on the advanced book. So we've already done the first round of Volume 1, Volume 2, New Beginnings, and Intermediate, and we're going to do Advanced Access. It's going to be 3 classes,
Wow.
and this is where you get to do the fun stuff.
Excuse me.
So we're going to be working with that, and as that's coming up in the month of March, and as we get into March and going into April, I'm going to be coming through Albuquerque
Oh,
and
cool.
up to Sedona, and I've got events that are going to be happening in Sedona, Phoenix, and Tucson, Arizona. So
Nice.
I hope to see you at the event, and we will be doing those online. So you'll be able to live stream the classes, live stream the events.
Okay.
And also, if anyone out there, does want a reading or a healing session, go to billfoss.net and look at the readings and healings, because I do a lot of activation work, a lot of energy coaching, and I work with people individually when they're really, really interested in learning and developing.
I think
So
it's fantastic. So you're not doing one here in Albuquerque, you're just coming through.
at this point, no, but that could change
Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye.
if we find the right venue.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, it's tough right now with the COVID and everything. Hey, you guys, we got to get out of here for today, but I could sit here and talk to Bill. Bill, come back and see us, won't you, Bill?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's How to Read the Akashic Records by Bill Foss. And if you want to make an appointment with him, go to billfoss.net. If you want to make an appointment with me, go to nancyyearout.com. This is High Road to Humanity. Bill, thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you, Nancy. It's always a pleasure. Love being here on your show. So look forward to coming back.
Thanks for teaching us. You guys have a terrific week, and we will see you next time. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
'Cause you can achieve your goal.